I've been messing with this shifter for a long time. I have looked at the book. Hang on, I'll show you too. I have been studying this book and studying this book. And the piece that's in there is called a segment. It's right here. And you got to torque the main bolt down and it holds on there 22 foot-pounds. But all it says is align notch A on the segment with the pin B on the shift cam, which is inside the engine. And it's got that little pin and it's got this little semicircle thing on here. And this just sits on there. And you see how this has got like rounded fingers all around? But one of them has like a half moon thing. And I'll show that to you. So if you look at right there, you can see that one little finger down in there that's got like a little half moon notch. And then you can see the rest of them, they're rounded. See if I can get the camera to focus better. And I have been messing with this, and I actually figured out how to get it to shift and how to get it to shift all in there. And this is called a stop lever. It's got that little, like a little roller deal on there that goes in between those fingers. And that's what shifts it into gear. It shifts into gear. And that thing is a booger to get in there because that's got a really good tension spring down in there. You got to get it lined up to get this bolt in there, and that's got to be thread locked in there to hold. But basically, that little cutout on that one little piece when it comes on that roller, that's actually neutral. And if you spin this one and hold the shaft on her side, it'll be in neutral right now. And then that's going to be second. And I gotta spin it to get them and to go in third, fourth, fifth. Okay, and so now they're all in gear and stuff. And I have been trying to figure this out because I've had it together, but I put the shift lever on there and I can't get it to shift right through the gears. And I have been trying to figure out, and see, and that's in first now. And I have been trying to figure this out. There's a little tiny dot right there. And that basically needs to be lined up. That's where your little half moon piece is. And that's your neutral. And so if you put that, you line that up, that lines up with the pin on the shift drum. And if you line that up, so it's right there in that position facing that wheel, that's neutral. Then when you put the shift lever on there, you will shift down, and what that does is it turns it that way, and it will turn that thing this way, and you only get one, that's it. And so that's going to be first. Then if you go back up here, that's neutral, second, third, fourth, fifth. Okay, and you can see where fifth gear is, that thing is there. I have studied in that book. I have actually looked on YouTube, everything else. I cannot figure it out. But I finally got it figured out. And I can show you guys a little trick with the shift pawl thing. That's this right here. A lot of people on YouTube and stuff are saying how hard this is to hold all this together with this little spring and these little things. And they're like, don't take it apart if you don't have to. Well, I did. I had to take it apart. And I have figured out a pretty easy way to do it. But I thought I would just show that real quick. That get this thing lined up, because I could not figure out where does it line up. Basically put it on that little half moon finger and put that right on that little roller ball there, and that puts it into neutral. And you get one down, four up. So to put these in here, it's really not terribly hard. It's a little bit finessing, but there's a little spring with those little ball things on there. And then these here, they have a rounded edge and a flat edge. You want the rounded edge in, and they just sit in there like so. And I'm using assembly lube on them, kind of makes them a little sticky. Sorry about that, my phone fell. This is my phone to record. But they're kind of just sitting in there. Now what you want to do is just kind of hold it with your fingers. And I got that assembly lube on there. And then you just kind of place it on there, but you're going to run out of room with your fingers. And you get it set on the shaft, and then press it down like so. And then you want to align it so it's right about there. And then just take a small pick and push the shift pawl in. And push that one in. And there you go. They are in place. And you want to make sure that you put this groove, this wider part, on this side. The way that I screwed this up last night, I was messing with it for hours, couldn't figure it out, is I had this actually spun around so that this little cutout part was back over here, which was completely wrong. It's cut out for the shift shaft right here to be in there. So then we can put our bolts back in here to hold the shift pawl all together. I got Loctite on there. I'm using blue Loctite on here. Snowplow. And we're going to torque that to 7.2 foot-pounds. There we go. Put a little bit of assembly lube on here. Get this all greased up. This is your shift shaft. Just like so. We could just put our lever on here, just hang it on here, just to shift. You got to be careful you don't push it this way though, because there's nothing holding on without the other case half on there. But then right now it's in neutral. There's first gear. So if you press down, it gives you your first gear. And then see, I can't hold the shaft. See, when I turn this one, the output shaft over here turns 2. And then if I, there's neutral. So now I can hold it over here. So now you got neutral. And you come up, there's second gear, boom, it's locked in. So it's just a little bit of help. I've done a bunch of research. I've been studying that book and everything else, trying to get that and figure out what's going on, because I've just been having a headache with it. And I found out that the dot that's on that segment is actually where the pin lines up on the shift drum, but it also, to get to neutral, you need to line that up and it faces right against the wheel on the stop lever. And that lines up for your neutral. And then you get one down, and then boom, 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 up. So there you go. So that's all together now. So now I can start putting all that stuff back in there now. I have this idler gear. That shaft just kind of presses out as it sits here. That'd be fine sitting there like that. This is my idler gear here that goes on. There's no marks that line up that. Put our little C-clip back in there, make sure it's snapped into the groove. There we go. This gear here that comes out the transmission, this hooks up to the clutch, and the oil pump runs off the clutch and everything. So when the engine is running, it's just freewheeling. Okay, that's all that's doing, and that's just turning the oil pump at all times. This here is hooked up to your crankshaft and everything. There is a dot on this main gear on the crankshaft, and you have to line it up with the dot that's on the idler shaft that goes across there too. That's very important. But I gotta take this back off because I put this nut on here and I put the lock ring upside down. This little tab is supposed to stick down into the hole so it can't come undone. So I gotta pop that back off, and then and then I can put that on the right way and everything, retorque it all up and everything, and then I will be pretty much done on this side that I can put the case on there. That there is just a little gear jammer goes in there so that you can loosen that nut up. I think it's a 22 if I remember right. Yep. Don't do this at home. There we go. That's the way it's supposed to be. And I'm also going to put a little bit of Loctite on there. Just because I don't want it to come loose. I gotta look up the torque rate on that. So it is calling for 36 foot-pounds of torque, which is gonna be quite a bit. There we go. Let's see how these line up. Okay, that one lines up pretty good. The other one had to curve up. Right. So now we can bend our locking tab up. There we go. Put our little gear jammer out. And then over on this side, we have already put on this counterweight right here. And this one I got in right, and I have it all torqued and everything. And so I just gotta bend my locking tab up. There we go. Well, guys, we've gotten to this point. I just have the Kickstarter sitting on here. It's actually not bolted on there yet. It just slides in up. Well, we got her to this point here. We got the case all sealed up. Everything's all sealed up where it's supposed to be. The stator cover's on the bike, so I put that on when I get that mounted back in the bike, which is not going to be too long. Right now, I've gotten the clutch all in. This is a Recluse clutch. I gotta pick up my standard one down there, but this has a Recluse clutch in it, which I can show you the box here. It's this right here. It's a Recluse Radius CX clutch. I actually have been driving it with just some standard clutch. It's just a manual clutch on a dirt bike. And it can be very, very tricky at times. Because you're out there snow biking and your front ski catches something and you got to stop all of a sudden or whatever. A lot of times you don't have the time to even pull that clutch in. And then the bike tips over or something, you know, and it's running and it dies and blah. And what this does is almost makes this bike into an automatic. It has a special plates all in there and everything. And when you're idling the bike, it will actually just not move. And then when you give it gas, then the clutch engages, kind of like an old centrifugal clutch on a mini bike, and it will engage and go. You can still use it just as a regular clutch. It still works as a regular clutch, but it also can make it an automatic. If you need it, if you let off the gas, it'll just stop. The transmission will stop, but the engine will keep running, which is really a good benefit for snow biking. There's a lot of people on dirt bikes and everything. They all make comments about this. This is cheating. It's bad. You shouldn't do this because it's going to teach you bad habits and everything else. Dirt bikes are a little different. You know, a lot different. Snow bikes, you find a lot of surprises. So I got that installed. Next is going to be the piston. This is the old piston right here. I have the new one sitting right there with the new rings and everything. I have to check out my cylinder quick, put my rings in there, make sure they're all good, make sure the sizing of everything is all good. And then I'll be dropping the piston on there and putting the cylinder on top of here. And then once I get to that point, then I will be putting this back in the bike and mounting it back in the bike, and then I'll be working on the head. And I'm actually this is the cracked head. That's the head I got off of eBay. I'm gonna actually tear that head completely apart and rebuild it, put all new valves in it, everything else. And that'll be basically brand new, ready to go. So we're making our way. It's been quite the learning experience. Yesterday with the whole shifting process and everything, and learning the shifter and how that all works, and not being able to really find the information to help me. It took me a long time to figure it out, but we got her figured out and got her back together, and everything's in there, everything's working, shifts great. So now it's just putting the piston and going up from there and start mounting a bike and see if we can get this thing running quick here.